Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to the season finale for the RTG Dirt Series. We kick things off here tonight with the street stocks at Knoxville Speedway. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Samuel Dyer. And Sam, coming into tonight's two events, we do have a championship battle, and it is in this race here this evening.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing two drivers really going for it. Timothy DeSchwart as well as Steve Robbins going to be going toe-to-toe. 2 points it's going to be the differential between those two drivers here tonight. And really, you can win the championship if you win today's race and also if you win the heat here.
Yeah, there are bonus points in the heats. 5 bonus points for finishing as the winner of your respective heat. 3 points for finishing second and 1 point for finishing in third. There are no bonus points once you get to the main event. So in the case of Steve Robbins, who is -2, he's really going to have to rely on the heat here tonight to be able to make up some points on DeSchwart. As in this heat, it's going to be Christopher Carmen leading us to the green, Martin Karch, Adam Huggins, Jim Black, and Brian Ordo, the 5 in this first heat race.
It looks like Huggins going to be trying to duck it into the inside, not able to make the pass just yet, but Carmen doing a great job holding on that inside lane, and that's where most of the cars are going to be preferring to be here during these heat races. It's either going to be the bottom or the middle is where you want to be. Later on during the feature, that's when the high line will start to kick in. It's a little bit of contact from our front runners. It's Karch really banging into the 22.
Already rubbing doors. It's still side by side going into 3, almost 3 wide. Huggins took a peek, more contact, and there goes Carmen to the 22.
Carmen had no chance in that situation. He was kind of stuck where he was at. Huggins came in and contact spinning the 22 around. That was Karch just pulling away and really don't know if anyone could touch this 33.
Leaving behind a battle for second with Brian Ordo now to the inside of the 16 of Adam Huggins, and this going on about 4.5 car lengths behind Martin Karch. Again, if you're just joining us here this season, for this series, there are no cautions that come out during the heat races. So if you make a mistake, you just got to kind of limp that machine back to the checkered flag and take your lumps on where you're going to be in the starting order. That's the case for the 22.
Heat number 1, driver that wins the race gets the pole. So really, Martin Karch going for a very important position right here, while the rest of the drivers, they're hunting to see where they're going to be placed. Most likely second place is going to be starting in 4th place.
We're looking at this battle for second, and Brian Ordo, out of the drivers in this heat, is the one who comes in the highest in the points, 7th in the standings. Obviously, we're going to be focused tonight on Timothy DeSchwart and Steve Robbins because those are the two in the battle for the championship, but there's a lot of drivers here tonight. They want to be able to finish out the season as high in the point standings as possible, even though they may not be lifting the championship trophy at the end of the night.
Yeah, it's more of keep that momentum and get some type of morale at the end of the season for some of these drivers, and you're starting to still see it. Still side-by-side racing for second place. Huggins still trying to dig on that inside, but it's the more that they try to go for the inside, the more it's going to wear out, and really the Ordo is going to be the more preferred lane by the last 2 laps.
But we're starting to get an idea as well of what type of racing we're going to see in the main event, because it's looking like both lanes fairly equal there between the 71 and the 16. So this to me spells out we're going to have a lot of side-by-side racing when we get the entire field on the track here.
Yeah, it's going to be like this for probably the first about 20 to 25 laps for the featured race, and then it's going to evolve into really stretching closer to the outside wall and trying to dig into the inside barrier. So these drivers got to be aware of where they're at. As right now, Karch coming around 3 and 4, looking good, looking clean, coming to the white flag.
Going to be asking you a question momentarily about what we just saw there out of the 16 of Adam Huggins, but just a couple more corners here for Martin Karch. Trying to remember back if any of the broadcasts we did for the street stocks, if Karch had a win in his heat, and I don't recall that ever happening. So at least to my knowledge, this is going to be the first time we're going to see Martin Karch not only win a heat, but start a pole in his suit. Oh my goodness, he just dumped it into pit road, and Brian Ordo's going to win the heat.
Brian Ordo, who's been battling for second place all race long, somehow sneaks in a win after seeing Karch just dump it into the pits. I don't know if that was a choice to put himself in, show off that he's got speed, wants to start in the back, or if he blatantly lost it. It looked like he was digging in lower and lower, and he might have dug too low and spun the back end around.
And this is not the first time we've seen this happen either, with a driver leading off the final corner and looping it around. I'm trying to remember back who the driver was. I think the racetrack, if memory serves me correctly, was back at Weed Sport. And I'm trying to remember who the driver was. They looped it around off of 4 onto pit lane, coming off the final corner on the final lap, subsequently gave up the heat to the driver running second, and we just had lightning strike twice again, this time here at Knoxville.
Yeah, and the track's just going to continue to evolve throughout the heat. So now what the last drivers ended off with, these drivers in the second heat, now they're going to be starting off on that same course. So it's going to be interesting to see. We saw that the inside groove was starting to evolve and evaporate in a way, getting a little bit too dry and too slick at times. And looking like that middle groove was where you want to be. So expecting, yes, we can still have a little bit of side-by-side racing, but I think that middle lane is going to be the most preferred lane to be in.
Getting ready for the second heat here is former winner Ryan Stillwell will be starting on the pole position. Stillwell with a win this season back at Eldora. Jason Ferguson will line up to his outside. Terry Bauman, Brian Hogue, and Michael Massey are going to complete this heat. Michael Massey coming off a victory a couple of weeks ago at Lanier. So a couple of former winners from this season in this second heat. Still, however, we're missing our two drivers battling for the championship. And so this subsequently means here, Sam, this third upcoming heat is more than likely going to have those two drivers. It's all done by random draw as to what heat they're in. So how ironic is it that the championship battling two are going to be in the same heat race?
Yeah, that third heat could be really hurt Deschwart a ton if he is not able to stay ahead of Robin. But really, the evolution of the night is going to be crazy to see. We've got ourselves our championship drivers to watch out for. But first, we got to figure out who's going to be starting in second place here as heat number 2 is about to get underway.
We had one incident take place in the first heat. What type of a heat will we see here with the second group as Stillwell gets the green flag, easily makes the pass to clear for the top spot going into one. Almost contact there between Terry Bauman and Jason Ferguson.
Yeah, Bauman's going to be getting right onto the outside groove already, spinning out and wrecking out of this heat race. There's a little bit of a curve if you start to run too close to it. There's about an inch to 3 inches high of a banking that if you hit that banking, you'll find yourself spinning around. Up front, Stillwell continuing to try to pull away as Ferguson still on the back bumper, but it's looking like Stillwell's figuring out some speed on that exit and it's pulling away from that 190, 129.
You know, it's interesting you bring up that curbing down there because back during the first heat, we were coming to the checkered flag, so I wanted to hold off on the question. But when we saw the battle at the time for second place between Brian Ordo and Adam Huggins, Huggins had his left front up on that curbing, but actually seemed to be able to make it work. He was still being able to stay alongside of Brian Ordo. So is there like some way to maneuver your way on that inside line with that curbing to still keep that car facing the correct direction?
Yeah, it's a really thin line that you have to work on if you're going to be trying to use that banking to your advantage. If you get a little bit too far up on it, like we saw what happened to Bauman, you're going to be wrecking out of this race. And if you're too far away, you'd be losing time. So you got to be careful of how close you really want to get close to that banking because it can win you a race and it can lose you one.
Jason Ferguson here. It's, I believe, the first time that we've seen him in a street stock on FRN. Is contact there for third between Hogue and Massey, but Ferguson's making his 7th start of the season, 14th in the points coming into this one.
Yeah, Hogan, also Massey, just duking it back and forth, just sending it into both corners and basically wrecking each other out of a top 2 finish at the moment. As Ferguson, he's found some speed. He's slowly starting to march his way back on Stillwell's bumper, but could he have ran out of time?
Yeah, I think that Hogue may have gotten up into the wall there over in 2. Here comes Ferguson, drives it in deep on Ryan Stillwell. Stillwell trying to combat a poor performance last week. That was at Charlotte Dirt, and subsequently fell 3 spots in standings from 3rd down to 6th. And as you pointed out, trying to start on the outside of the front row for this race. Going to have 2 more circuits as he brings it around to the start-finish line. It looks like that charge that Ferguson had, it's gone away.
Yeah, last lap coming out of turn number 2, Ferguson got too much onto that banking and lost all that time that he was gaining and more, as now we're seeing Stillwell with plenty of space, almost over a second gap over that 129 machine, and expecting him to really be able to pull away and hold on. Just don't make the same mistake that we saw Karch do on that last heat as coming across the line. White flag in the air.
White flag out, about 4 car lengths from Stillwell back to Ferguson, then another 5 car lengths back to this great battle for third still between Hogue and Massey. Again, more contact between the two as Hogue will move into Massey will move into the 3rd position. Hogue's going to try and drive it in deep on him. Can't get there as Stillwell is going to start on the outside of the front row. He's going to win heat number 2.
Yeah, Ferguson was finding some speed there at the start of that run and then just got too close to that rim on the inside. Got to be careful not to get onto that banking, but I think Ferguson might be a car to watch out later in the race as Michael Massey and Hogue, they were just body slamming for most of that race, and I'm surprised that they were still running as close as they were to the front two.
Interesting group that we've got right here for this third and final heat, as it will be 14 drivers that will be taking the green flag in the main event. All drivers competing in these heats. There is no D&Q drivers. They'll all participate in the upcoming main event race, but Grant Wesley lines up on point. Wesley comes in this race fourth in the stands. He's also the winner from last week when he swept both the Charlotte Dirt races in the street stocks and the late models. He's going to be alongside of Timothy DeSchwart. We already documented he is the points leader coming into tonight's event. Stephen Barreau going to actually line up there in third. We saw some pretty good things out of him last week in the street stocks, and Steve Robbins will start in fourth, 2 points behind DeSchwart for the championship.
Yeah, remember, if you win the race, you get 5 points. Second place, you get 3 points, and then third place will get 1 point in this heat. So there's a chance that Steve Robbins could either find himself as the points leader going into the featured race, he could be tied with Timothy DeSchwart, or he could be losing a lot more ground on our points leader at the moment.
You know, obviously we're looking forward to the 50-lap main event coming up here, but I'm going to ask you the question: do you think the championship could be won or lost in this heat before we even get to the main event?
I think really right now, if Steve Robbins does not get at least that top 2 finish, I think his championship run is in debt. It's going to be almost ran away from his hands, because he's got to make sure that he doesn't get too far back points wise. Yes, it's a smaller field, so he's really got to work to be up front.
Well, Grant Wesley was not able to run the full season here with the street stocks, but when he came back, he has won 5 of the last 9 races, and he's looking to get his 6th win of the season and 2nd in a row for the 2nd time this season. Gets us under the green. Battle is on for 2nd. Robbins to the inside of DeSchwart.
Yeah, we're sorry to see Robin going to be really digging it, and Grant Wesley getting a little bit too close to the wall and almost banked off of it. We're going to be seeing a lot of side-by-side action here as Robin still holding strong on the inside.
Yeah, for Steve Robin right now, if he can finish just 1 position ahead of Tim DeSchwart, that's the 2 points that he makes up here that he was at a deficit to DeSchwart coming into this race. The 2 of them would head into the main event tied for the points lead.
Yeah, a difference of you need to make sure you're ahead of a driver so many positions, or just beat the driver in the featured race. A lot of this is going to get things complicated, and you also got to be careful not to just dump the car here in this heat race. I mean, that's a great way to make sure that you've got a points lead going into this featured race. If we see Steve Robbins or even Timothy DeSchwart just knock the other competitor out.
Well, you'd think that at a track where these cars are sliding into the corners, you know, that it's nice and smooth, but look at the way these cars are bouncing as they go through the center of these corners. I mean, they've got their hands full not only with their machines, but just the roughness of the surface of this track.
Yeah, Knoxville is one of the more aggressive dirt courses to be racing on, and especially when you're close to that rim and the banking. But through the center of the corner in the middle of the track, like you said, these cars are just bouncing off the ground, and they're trying to hold on the best that they can. Robin, though, he looked like he might have gotten too close to the rim there as he drifted up a little bit, losing some ground, still side by side for the lead.
I'll tell you what, these drivers may not be having so much fun out there with the conditions of Knoxville, but up here in the stands, this is a blast to watch. This is close proximity racing between 3 drivers, 1 that's trying to get his 6th win of the season, 2 that have a championship on the line, and they continue to run in close quarter to each other here, coming to 3 laps to go.
3 laps to go, and we're starting to see Timothy DeSchwart. He's trying to do different moves because he can't just follow in everyone else's footsteps. He's trying to get closer and try to get a little bit deeper into these corners, and it's hurting that 49 machine, who is now back in 3rd place as Steve Robbins is just taking the lead.
Robin taking the lead with DeSchwart back in 2nd, now puts Steve Robin up by 2 points heading into the main event. So DeSchwart has to get around that 88 of Grant Wesley, or at least hope that Wesley can get around Robin here on these final 2 laps.
2 laps to go, and Steve Robbins is feeling comfortable with honestly transferring from being behind 2 points to possibly up 2 points in the featured race. Steve Robbins, he's just got to continue hitting his marks and hope that the 88 machine doesn't try to dive bomb him anytime soon.
Well, Grant Wesley's going to drive it in deep, gets close to his door, coming off the corner. DeSchwart right back in the picture again. 1 lap to go. This is to see who's going to start third for the main event. Wesley goes up to the top side. DeSchwart drives it in deep for second.
DeSchwart's got to dig it in deep once more. He's got to make sure he gets off the corner well, and he does. He's staying close enough to Grant Wesley that he might be able to throw it underneath the 88, and this is what he has to do. There goes the 49, trying to go for second place.
Can he get the second position coming off of 4? We got a little tight there. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Robin's going to win the heat. He'll start third, and with DeSchwart crossing the line in third place, that means that Steve Robbins heads into the 50-lap feature 2 points up now on Timothy DeSchwart.
And now Timothy DeSchwart's whole entire mindset is shifted. Instead of just making sure he's got a gap over that 173, it's about him beating the 173 and making sure he's at least 3 cars ahead, or just win this race if he wants to try to beat out Steven Robbins.
Man, I'll tell you what, we saw some interesting things that I think are going to carry over into this main event race as well. We saw in the first heat and right here as well in that third heat a lot of close side-by-side racing. So, you know, those two guys, they're out there battling for the championship. Everybody else wants to finish out the season with a W. For those other drivers in the field, how do you keep yourself mentally focused on the fact that, hey, there are a couple of guys that I'm going to be racing around that are battling for the championship. If I make a mistake, it may be costing them a championship trophy.
I mean, you kind of saw it there with the 88 of Grant Wesley, right? He really could have sent it a little bit harder there with about 2 laps to go to try to make a pass on Steve Robbins. But if he had tried to make that pass, there was a chance that he could have gotten into that driver and spun him out. So a little bit of hesitancy is going to be around these 2 championship drivers, because now with the advantage that Steve Robbins has over Timothy DeSchwart, it's going to be very difficult for some of these drivers to try to race as aggressive as they want around those 2. But we saw during the heats, Brian Hogue, Mike Massey, they're not really scared to be throwing it against one another. They're willing to body slam if needed to try to get past one another.
These drivers, these 2, DeSchwart and Robbins, their seasons have been all about consistency. Timothy DeSchwart, 11 top 5s and 15 top 10s. Steve Robbins with 9 top 5s and 14 top 10s. Now, Timothy DeSchwart does have a win. That was back at Williams Grove, but the fact that the 2 of them were able to come into this race separated by a meager 2 points, that is incredible after 15 races, I should say, this being the 16th race of the evening of the season. And it all comes down to this here now, 50 laps at Knoxville. So these 2, based on where they finished, they're going to be starting still in somewhat close proximity to each other. I believe that Steve Robbins will be third, and DeSchwart, I think, will be starting back. You can correct me on this if I'm wrong. I think around the 6th position.
DeSchwart is going to be back in 9th place, while Steve Robbins is going to be up in 3rd.
Now, the thing I'm wondering here, too, DeSchwart, you know, you kind of get used to a driver's racing style during the course of the season. DeSchwart seemed to be one of those drivers that really likes the bottom of the racetrack. Will that serve him well early on in this race in his attempt to get up there to the front in the same vicinity as the 073?
I think it is, but also it's going to be very nerve-wracking to be on the bottom, I think, for the second half of this race, just because the grip levels are going to change a lot. You're going to have a lot of grip. The track's going to be very wet, and a lot of grip's going to be everywhere on track. And then it's going to mold, where the dryness is starting to kick in, and you're going to be searching for that moisture and where the grip is, so that you can finally get the run off the corner and really be able to slide through the corners cleanly while keeping your momentum. That's the real key here with this street stocks, is that when you're sliding into these corners, yes, it looks cool to be completely 45 degrees sliding, but your goal is to slide enough to where you get around the corner cleanly and keep your momentum going.
Brian Ordo's going to line up on the pole position for this one. He's still looking for his first street stock win of the season. We'll see if he's able to close out the deal. And, of course, very interesting to see that the sands have kind of shifted here as far as the championship battle. It was DeSchwart by 2. It's now Robin by 2 heading into the main event, which is going to be run momentarily. We're going to step aside for a quick race break, and we'll be back here for the green flag for the season finale of the RTG Street Stock Series. And we welcome you back here to Knoxville Speedway, getting ready for our 50-lap feature. The heats have been run, the grid is put together, and Brian Ordo, Ryan Stillwell will be the front row to lead us to the final green flag of the season. If you're just joining us, the points battle for the championship. It's going on between Timothy DeSchwartz and Steve Robbins. The heats definitely played a factor into the championship battle here. It was DeSchwartz +2, but he finished third in the third heat. Steve Robbins won the third heat, so therefore Robbins is now up by 2 over DeSchwartz coming into this 50-lap feature. So Sam, I mean, we saw a couple of incidents in those heat races, nothing in terms of real hard contact. Now that the checkered flag is on the line, do we see even harder racing out of these drivers, or do we see a little bit more of the same of what we saw in the heats?
I think we're going to be seeing a little bit more aggression on these restarts than what we were seeing during the heats. The drivers are going to be having to make a lot of big moves. Timothy DeSchwartz is going to be starting all the way back in 9th place, while Steve Robbins is going to be up in 3rd place. And really, right now, Timothy DeSchwartz needs to either win this race or make sure he's 3 positions ahead of that 073.
Unfortunate that the 129 of Jason Ferguson, who finished 2nd in the second heat race, looks like he did not make it onto the grid. So a tough break there, as Ferguson was trying to make his 7th start of the season. But it will be row 2, comprised with Steve Robbins and Adam Huggins. Row 3 now is going to be Jim Black and Grant Wesley. Tim DeSchwartz will move up a row, up to 7th, alongside of Michael Massey. Brian Hogue will then start 9th alongside of Christopher Carmen. And the rest of the field, Stephen Barreau, Martin Karch, and Terry Ballman. 13 cars will take the green. Actually, looks like we have got the 129 back into the server. Looks like he will not be taking the green flag. So we will have 14 cars on track when the 129 eventually does come off pit road.
Yeah, Ferguson going to be starting on pit road once we go green, and based on what we've been seeing, a lot of early cautions usually come out just because there's so much grip. You can make so many big moves, and that's what we're expecting to see. 50 laps, who's going to win the championship? We'll see right here. Green flag out in the air.
Brian Ordo going to lead them down into turn 1. The thing that we always seem to talk about at the dirt tracks is when are the upper grooves going to come into play. Steve Robbins has that lower groove, though. He drove it down to the inside 3 wide. We got a car up into the wall. I think that was Massey back there.
Yeah, Jim Black just carried too much momentum, drifted up into Massey, and luckily we stayed green, but there was a great possibility of a caution coming out. Stillwell up front on the outside, still making that 9-car move as he's got the momentum, trying to get past Ordo.
Contact there between the right front of Brian Ordo and the left rear of Ryan Stillwell. Steve Robbins continues to doggedly stay on that inside line 3 wide. Then behind them, you've got Adam Huggins in the 16, Grant Wesley in the 88, waiting to see what's going to happen with these top 3.
They're bumping up front, they're side by side, rubbing off one another. The 9 and the 71 really not giving it an inch as they come across the line.
And remember, for these two guys, there's nothing to lose. They're out here just trying to finish out the season with a W. They're not in the championship battle. Stillwell looking for his 2nd win of the season, Ordo looking for his 1st.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, they can still be bouncing off one another, and they're going to be okay. These street stocks can take a beating. They're very durable, as you're seeing them still rubbing off one another. But here comes Steve Robbins. I think he's just going to be staying and waiting until he starts to see that 49 machine pop up in his mirror.
Let's find that 49 of DeSchwartz. There he is, up on the outside there, trying to get around Grant Wesley, riding in the tire tracks of the 16 of Adam Huggins. Right now, 3 positions behind Steve Robbins. Robbins in 3rd, DeSchwartz in the 6th position as that battle up at the front continues hot and heavy between Ordo and Stillwell. Robbins just waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, Steve Robbins is kind of tired of this. He wants to make a move. He's trying to figure out if there's an opening. He's been watching and just processing. And I think since he's seen DeSchwartz popping up in 5th place, it's more of a I gotta go now and not give even a chance for this 49.
And they are 4 almost wide back there around the 4th position. Huggins, DeSchwartz, Wesley, as well as Michael Massey in this group. Michael Massey, let's not forget, was up in the wall not too long ago. You talked about the durability of these cars. That's steel guardrails up there that these drivers hit if they get up into the wall. And the fact that Massey's been able to bounce back and up nearly inside the top 5 is incredible.
Timothy DeSchwartz just had a scare as Huggins gets into the wall. Massey into Huggins, and away goes Massey spinning. No yellow yet.
Michael Massey is going to spin it down to the inside near pit road entrance, out of harm's way, so no caution comes out up to this point. Back up at the front, though. Still side by side between Brian Ordo and Ryan Stillwell. This is reminding me a lot of what we saw. Oh, they're almost squeezing the 71 like meat between two pieces of bread and a sandwich.
Here comes Robbins once again. I think it's due to the fact that we're starting to see DeShort. He's slowly, methodically making his way through, watching everyone wreck around him as that 49 is clearly just marching forward as they're still too wide in front of Robbins.
Boy, there's some great battling going up here inside the top 5, and I don't want to be disparaging, but we saw just moments ago the 129 of Jason Ferguson that's come back out on the track. They may reel him in momentarily, and if they catch him in the wrong spot, how is he going to play into this battle for the lead?
Might have to go 4 wide into these corners. Most likely we're going to be seeing Ferguson just dump it and stay on the outside, or go straight to the apron and try to get out of the way of these leaders, as right now they're still side by side. I'm surprised that we're still seeing Stillwell and Ordo like this side-by-side action, but like I said, around lap 20 to 25, I don't expect it to stay this clean side-by-side again.
And look at this, the 49 of Timothy DeSchwartz has worked his way into the 4th position. He's right there on the back bumper of the top 3, who have continued that 3-wide battle for these first 10 laps.
It's only going to cause them to go slower and slower if they continue to go 3-wide action, but that outside groove just hasn't came in yet. There's not enough really moisture for you to go up there just yet. You got to be more patient if you're going to be starting to make some moves, but Robbins is feeling the pressure. DeSchwartz is there right on his back bumper.
Trying to see if anybody is migrating up to that higher line, and the only 2 drivers look like they're up there, but not necessarily by choice, is the 9 of Ryan Stillwell and the 49 of Tim DeSchwartz. As soon as I say that, though, DeSchwartz goes to the bottom, Robbins goes to the top.
Yeah, Robin was just trying something different. He's been working that inside groove for so long, and seeing the 49 gaining on him, thought, hey, maybe the outside is where I want to go, but he has to protect it inside the groove. He has to wait and see. But Ordo is losing that battle of side-by-side action, and it's Stillwell that's starting to move. You're seeing that outside groove. It's coming in a lot better. The inside, it's losing that moisture, and it's starting to loosen up.
Watch the hands here of race leader Ryan Stillwell as he's now out in front ahead of Brian Ordo. Just constant movement there with the race wheel, having to make sure that that thing either is counter steering or straight off the corner. Looking back here to the battle for 2nd place. A couple of cars rushing the wall there, heading into the corner. But again, these cars, you said, so durable, so that kind of a minor bit of contact's not going to affect them at all.
Yeah, as long as your engine is still at full power, you're good enough to continue running. It's really not about how your external aero package looks. It's all about, do you have the power to get back onto the throttle as quick as possible?
Tim DeSchwartz, he has gotten around the outside of Steve Robbins, right now unofficially scored in the 3rd position. So now, if you're Steve Robbins, the pressure, I think, would have to be, you've got to be able to make sure you at least finish in the 3rd position, because if DeSchwartz wins this race and you can finish 3rd, that takes away the 3 positions he had to make up on you.
No, if Timothy DeSchwartz, if he wins, just because of the bonus points you get from winning the race, it would actually give Timothy DeSchwartz the championship. So DeSchwartz, his mentality is win and not make the pressure up, hoping that he's got enough cars in between himself and Steve Robbins.
And I love the fact that in this championship picture now, DeSchwartz kind of forced to do something we're not used to seeing him doing. That's run that outside line. He was one of the first drivers to go up there and try that 2nd groove, if you will, and it has paid dividends. He's a guy that we normally see right down there along the bottom. And speaking of the bottom, I've been watching that 71 of Brian Ordo. He's gotten pretty close down there to the curb in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, that's how close you're going to have to get. You're going to have to get even closer the longer this run and the longer this race goes on, because the moisture is going to drift away, and you're really going to have to use that banking if you want to get going. Also, we're starting to see that 88 of Grant Wesley. He loves the outside lane, and the longer this race goes on, the more the outside lane's going to be more preferred, and the faster he's going to get.
He's already up there in the 3rd groove, if you will, putting his right rear tire up there into the cleaner portion of the racetrack where it hasn't been quite as rubbered up. And of course, Grant Wesley, as mentioned, coming off a sweep last week at the Charlotte Dirt Track, and looking for another 2-win-in-a-row streak, as he's already got one this season. 6th win overall is what that 88 car is looking for.
Timothy DeSchwartz might not have won the heat, but he certainly is looking for a win in this featured race. He's going to the inside, trying to figure out how to get by Stillwell, and Stillwell's been doing a great job. I think he's just picked the outside groove and is staying there, understanding it's going to get better. It's going to get more worn in. The outside is where you want to stay, but here comes DeSchwartz, really digging it in on the inside, a slide job for the lead.
And he's going to make it work, perfectly executed. He got his rear bumper right up in front of the front bumper of Stillwell, stifling the momentum of the 9 machine. I think that DeSchwart's gonna have him when they exit off of turn number 4.
Will try to do the exact same slide job move, but it's going to cost the momentum. Here comes Grant Wesley, who might think about sending it in there 3 wide, and he will. He's going to be trying to use the banking for the 88.
Steve Robin had his nose up the middle 3 wide there off of turn 2 as well. That's cost him. That drops him back to the 4th position as now DeSchwart and Stillwell continue to battle for the lead.
Steve Robbins just went from I'll cruise in 3rd place to I must win this race with Timothy DeSchwart leading this race. It's now going to knock Steve Robbins out of a championship run.
And we've been talking about this 5-car battle up at the front, but it's about to become 7 cars up in this lead group. Martin Karch and Brian Hogue are about to join this.
Also, our leaders are starting to catch up to Ferguson more and more each lap, and we talked about how a lap machine, how will it affect our lead lap drivers, and Stillwell, a fabulous move on his part to get up front.
He put the slide job back on Tim DeSchwart, pulled it off to perfection. Now DeSchwart's momentum got stifled. That brings Steve Robbins to the inside, but Robbins not going to be able to quite get the run. He'll stay side by side for 3rd with Grant Wesley.
The issue with the drivers that are not battling 1st and 2nd is if you try to do a slide job move, there's just not enough area for you to slide up in front of the car you're trying to beat out. So you just lose that momentum and you just start dropping back.
The thing of it is, these guys are in such close proximity to each other, they're tempted to take it 2 and 3 wide as we've seen here. The issue is, though, we're not even halfway home in this thing. There's still 28 laps to go.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse. These drivers going to be losing time and also space to try to make these passes, as Grant Wesley going to be throwing it into the middle, trying to find some momentum and any grip, and it looks like he might have lost it.
Yeah, here's the part now where drivers have been able to lay down a lot of rubber and a lot of grooves, so now they're going to be going into the second half of this race in extreme search mode. I was wondering, with the fact that we've got the steel guardrail surrounding this dirt track, as Steve Robbins with a tremendous save, almost going off DeSchwart, almost going off with Wesley, and then more contact with Martin Karch.
Yeah, and somehow still running up front. I'm surprised he didn't dump it into the outside wall. A great save and great wheelmanship by Stephen Robbins. Now going to get into Karch, and now might put both of them into the walls. They're still bumping off one another.
Now, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, this puts these drivers now into search mode, trying to find where that wet dirt is, where that grip is, and it may force them to go all the way up there to the top side, and that kind of led to what we just saw there with Steve Robin and Martin Karch making contact, because everybody's going to want the same lane here in the closing stages.
Yeah, this just went from possibly side-by-side 2, 3 wide action to just a single lane groove, and hope that you got the momentum to just full send it into some of these corners and try to do a slide job move. Now Steve Robbins, he was running up in 3rd place for the longest time, finds himself back in 5th, and the man he's trying to make sure he stays close to is running in 2nd place.
Yeah, so there's those 3 positions you were talking about that DeSchwart needs. That's why you see Steve Robin putting the pressure on Martin Karch to try and move up to the 4th spot. He's going to get a little bit of help up ahead, though. Grant Wesley's putting the pressure on Tim DeSchwart. He wants to move to 2nd.
Yeah, the longer this race goes on, I think Grant Wesley might turn into the favorite here. This 88 machine has really been finding the outside groove in all the racetracks that we've been racing at. And the longer the run is, the faster he is at the end of the race. As lap traffic starting to get in the way, that outside wall.
Grant Wesley tried to slide job DeSchwart. It didn't work. He got up into the steel guardrail. He drops back to 3rd, maybe to 4th, and he's going to be stuck behind the 129, who's now a lap down, Jason Ferguson.
Ooh, Karch almost just completely pit from Timothy DeSchwart there. Lap traffic getting passes. It looks like Ferguson just going to stay in the outside wall as Karch side by side still. As Grant Wesley, he almost gets spun there by Karch. Karch, he's really, that nose is getting extremely close to some of these bumpers. It's not even his fault. It's just the fact that how many cars are sliding in front of him.
And what a comeback here tonight in this main event for Martin Karch, because let's not forget, he was en route to start on the pole position for this race, was leading on the final lap of his heat off turn 4, and spun it down to the entrance of pit road, subsequently had to start at the rear of the field. He's now up there in the 4th position.
He started back in 13th place, has now moved up to 14th. It is a great showing by this 33 machine, and really looking like it is Grant Wesley now able to get by Timothy DeSchwart and moving himself up to 2nd place. As DeSchwart going to be trying to do a crossover move.
That puts a smile for the moment on the face of Steve Robin, because that
Yellow
brings
flag.
Cautions out. It's, I believe, Adam Huggins and Stephen Barra.
Barra upside down on coming to the entry of turn 1.
Not sure where the field is in relation to that 51 machine. There you see the race leaders going by, having to split him. As Steven Barra, I think he's hoping for someone to flip him over so he doesn't have to call a tow, but I don't think he's going to get that. Adam Huggins has actually already taken his number 16 back to the garage area, so we're going to take a look at a replay.
It all started with Huggins going into entry of turn number 3, banked it into the wall and never even tried to get off of it. By the time he finally got off the wall, man, it just looked like Barra had nowhere to go and drove right into the 16 machine, and a rough showing for both those drivers that were looking for a better day today.
Ooh, gives us all a chance to catch our breath here after the first 30 laps were absolute pandemonium. And incredibly enough, with the hard racing we saw, it took us this long to see our first caution of the day. And there you see the 16 riding the wall there through. That was 1 and 2, and then just nowhere to go, as you said, for that 51 of Barra, up and over. And a tough end to the night for both of those drivers, who I believe at the time were running around the 8th and 9th positions. So tough break for both of those drivers. But now it brings a lot more drivers into the conversation potentially for this win. And this is going to be interesting too, because these guys, they were in 30 laps of rhythm. This is now going to have them have to kind of sit there, think about it, and see who's going to be that first one to get back into their rhythm again.
Yeah, and it also gives the drivers a second to really look at the track, see, okay, where is the moisture on the course? Because usually when you're racing to the tracks, you see a little bit of a groove where you're seeing, okay, that place is a lot slicker and there isn't really much moisture there. So with these pace laps, it's allowing them to really figure out, okay, this is where I can try to maybe find some pace and where I really do not want to be and avoid at all costs.
Jason Ferguson gets a second chance after missing the start. He gets the lucky dog. Another driver that had issues there under that green flag run, Christopher Carmen. He's currently 7 laps down after sitting on pit road as the green flag is back out. 20 laps to go.
Dillwell got a fabulous start for himself, so did Grant Wesley, as they're trying to pull away. Karch on the outside, get into momentum, and it's going to be the 2 drivers hunting for points championship. They were stuck on the inside, and you see how much slower they were, as it looks like Steve Robin get a little bit of bumping from Ordo, and going to be now putting a lot of pressure on these drivers in the middle of the pack.
There was contact between the 71 and the 073. Robbins emerges with the 5th spot, though. Just up ahead is Tim DeSchwart, and then you got Martin Karch. He's looking to the inside of Grant Wesley. Couldn't quite make that work there through 1 and 2.
Yeah, we're seeing, just watching the drivers in the back half of the field, looks like they're just sending their cars in with a little bit too much speed, as Karch really sends it himself for the crossover move, possibly here from Grant Wesley.
Ooh, Wesley was almost able to clear the 33 in his attempt to cross him over. He'll have the inside line going into turn 3. Up the track they both go. Contact into the wall, contact with each other. They keep it straight.
Here comes Timothy DeShort trying to capitalize on both of them losing their momentum. Karch sending it once again for another slide job. This is what we're going to be seeing a lot into the wall as Karch just grazes that outside barrier.
And that might be how you have to do it too. Just barely clip the right rear up into that outside wall. Be able to still kind of keep your momentum through the corner. Karch drives it in deep again. This time he wasn't able to clear the 88.
And now we're going to see Timothy DeShort as well as Steve Robin. They're now going to have an opportunity to battle one another. As Robin, he might send it in. No, they're going to stay on the outside. No one's really trying anything too different. As Karch hard into the outside wall. He put too much speed into that one.
We're almost 4 wide coming off of turn 4 there as DeShort got into Grant Wesley. Nearly turned him around. Wesley now drives it deep on Karch. He's up into the wall.
And you got like Steven Robbins, he's just all the way on the inside, just trying to run his own race, hoping that they don't bounce off the wall and come down into him, as well as Timothy DeShort, who's just following suit. If they get in the wall, he's got nowhere to go and obviously can run into any of those drivers.
I swear we've said the word slide job more in this race than we have the entire season, because these guys are just putting on a clinic here from bottom to top into the corner. And amazingly enough, as said, only 1 caution here tonight. These drivers, they've raced really aggressive, but they've raced really clean.
Steve Robbins, I think he's found the momentum. He's going to be putting 49 into the wall slightly there. There's too much pressure pitching him close to the outside wall.
DeShort might be able to get back along the outside. Nope, instead, Robbins will clear for the spot. Here comes Wesley, driving it deep again, this time on Martin Karch. Karch looks to cross him over. He cleared him. Contact between the two coming off the second corner.
And it's just Ryan Stillwell loving the action behind him because he's just pulling away. He's running his own groove, and the other drivers are just sending it into the outside wall.
comes Timothy Schwartz. He's now to the inside of Steve Robin. That's the battle between the two drivers that are trying to win this championship. Behind them, got a pretty spirited battle between Michael Massey and Brian Ordo. That is for the 6th position.
Michael Massey has really had to come back from adversity, really all race long. He dropped back to 9th place. He's now up to 6th and trying to figure out how to get past Ordo as they're still side by side.
Massey up on the top side, Ordo on the bottom. Up ahead, you've got DeSchwart back to the inside of the 073 of Steve Robin. That's the battle for 4th place. All this action that we're seeing going on about a half second behind Ryan Stillwell, which seems like a lot. Or it doesn't seem like a lot, I should say, but at a dirt track, that's actually quite a big gap.
Yeah, you want to be within a 10th, maybe a 10th and a half if you want to even have a chance. A half a second back means that you're about 6 car lengths back, and it's a struggle to even gain up on someone else here at these dirt courses. We've seen Karch, we've seen also Grant Wesley just send it into the wall, and they've been trying so hard, but it's Karch. He hasn't been sending it into the wall, he's been hitting his rhythm. He's now on the back bumper of Stillwell.
Yeah, I was going to say wait for it. We might see the 33 try and pull the slide job on Ryan Stillwell, but this time runs just maybe about a half groove lower than Stillwell through 1 and 2. We'll see what he does here in 3 and 4. I don't think he's close enough. Oh, Ryan Stillwell gets up into the wall there. You saw the right rear jump up into the air.
Also, Grant Wesley in the 88 machine got up into the wall, which is now going to allow Timothy DeSchwart as well as Steve Robbins, as they're still side by side, trying to figure out how to get by these drivers. But like I talked about, the outside is soon going to be dissipating, and it's going to be a struggle everywhere you're at. You just find the moisture, find the grip. Where is it at? It's going to be a handful from here on out.
Well, I'm almost wondering what we just saw right there. Some of our front runners, if maybe the grip is completely gone that outside line. There you see Karch up and into the wall. I think there's no cushion for these guys to lean on anymore. I think the grip is gone in that top lane.
Yeah, and it's looking like Karch is just wall ready at this point, as well as Stillwell. So it's more of, hey, who can ride the wall better at this point and get off of it sooner to get that momentum off the corner. Karch with a great launch. He's now got his bumper side by side for the lead.
He's going to try to drive it in deep. Will he clear up here into the corner? Gets up the track. Here comes Stillwell crossing to the bottom, coming off the turn. Advantage looks like it's to the 9. He'll clear back for the top spot.
But he brushed into the wall, which now is giving Karch a chance, and both of them now into the wall. Here comes Grant Wesley and the rest of the field.
This is happening with 7 laps to go. We're coming down to the nitty-gritty here, and the moves are being made. Karch again drives it in deep into 3. Stillwell looking to see if he can cross him over. Looks like he's got the room to do so. Contact between the two off of 4.
And right now, it's going to be Timothy DeSchwart back in 5th place. He needs to find himself up in 2nd or even win this race at this point. But what we're seeing from our front 3, it's possible that the front 3 might just wreck themselves, and it might be our front points runners that might come out with the win.
Which would make that pass back there between DeSchwart and Robbins so much more important for the 49. Based on the scenario you just brought to light there, as it's 5 laps to go, make it 4.5. Your top 3, throw a blanket over them with Stillwell, Karch, and Wesley.
You see the wall, they go up into it, and they try to bank it off as soon as they can. They're all staying in line. The train led by Ryan Stillwell.
And again, remember, these top 3, there's nothing to lose in terms of the championship. They're out of it points-wise. They're all just trying to finish out the season with a win, so I guarantee you they will make any move necessary here on the final lap to try and bring this thing home with the trophy.
Side by side, it's going to be Karch and Stillwell up in the wall as both of them take each other out. Stillwell's flipping and yellow out.
Caution's going to come out as we just had taken 3 laps to go, make it 4 laps to go. Still got some cars spinning there on the inside. I think that was Massey and Ordo. They kept it together, but Ryan Stillwell, who had dominated this race, led the most laps up and over between himself and Martin Karch while battling for the lead. And I think we are going to get a restart here.
Yeah, I think we might be getting one. And right now, it's going to be Grant Wesley leader at the moment. Steve Robin going to be in 2nd place. Timothy DeSchwart going to be in 3rd. And I think, if anything, Steve Robbins is not a fan of this. Now, the 2 competitors that were being a buffer of a way to make sure DeSchwart doesn't have a chance to win this race, they're gone. Now it's just between Robin and right now Wesley that are holding off that 49 machine from a championship berth and a chance to just steal this championship away that he had coming in.
Where you saw the contact there between Martin Karch and Ryan Stillwell, and I think it just all kind of went back to that contact the two of them had going into the corner. Karch was kind of trying to pin Stillwell down to the inside line, and the two of them just took the corner a little bit faster than maybe either one of them wanted to, and both of them found themselves up into the wall fairly quickly.
Yeah, and both of them were really trying their best to just try to hold strong as much as they could, and Now we're waiting to see where driver's going to be placed. It looks like Ryan Stillwell will be hit with an EOL once he gets back on track, so he'll be at the end of the line. The driver that had to use a faster pair and was the most dominant car at the start of this race, like you said, and now it looks like his chance of winning this race up in smoke.
Man, tough break there for Ryan Stillwell as he was trying to pick up his second win of the season. Looks like that will not be the case unless something happens here in this restart. And yes, we are going to be getting a restart because the caution laps do not count in this race. And so therefore, when we go back green, it will be with 4 laps to go as Martin Karch is the leader, Grant Wesley second, Steve Robbins third, Timothy DeSchwartz in fourth, and Michael Massey complete the top 5. Karch going to lead them down here and get us back underway for a 4-lap shootout.
Martin Karch able to stay up front as when the yellow came out. He was still up there, but he's right into the wall again. So does Grant Wesley. DeSchwartz going to be trying that very low line, but the momentum, he loses it off the corner. Back to 4th place for that 49.
We're going to drive it deep into turn 3, though. Let's see what happens here as now Robin tries to get to the middle of Martin Karch. We're 3 wide for the lead coming off turn 4, 2 to go.
Coming across the line, it would have been Robin across the line that time, but really, it's looking like Timothy DeSchwartz. He's trying to figure out how to get off the corner as quick as possible. Robin gets a bump from Karch. Here comes Grant Wesley with the momentum as well.
DeSchwartz gets a great entry, but he can't follow it up on exit. It gives the advantage on the outside line to Steve Robin. Karch up into the wall again. He fades out of the picture for this race win, possibly. White flag, 1 lap to go. It's our championship 2 taking the white.
The winner's going to be taking the championship based on where they're at. Now it's going to be DeSchwartz trying to move up. He just can't. Here comes Robin on the outside. DeSchwartz got the pass made.
They were photo finish at the line taking the white. It may be the same here depending on what Robin can do here through 3 and 4. DeSchwartz, I believe, is clear. Robin tries to battle back. Here they come back to the stripe. It's Timothy DeSchwartz by half a car length winning the race and subsequently the championship in the street stocks.
It was pandemonium behind these two as they're still wrecking behind them. But man, Timothy DeSchwartz, he might have come into tonight having a 2-point lead, lost it in the heats, but came back, got the win that was needed to win the championship and gets it done.
How fitting, it's a photo finish here tonight between the 2 drivers that came into this race, not only the main event, but also into the heats, separated by 2 points. And it's those 2 not only to settle it out for the race win, but also for that championship trophy as well.
And the 2 drivers that were battling the hardest for this win, Stillwell and Karch, nowhere to be found as both of them practically taken out of this race. What a way to finish out tonight for the street stocks. And I can't believe we're going to have even more racing after this, but what a way to end the championships for the street stock drivers.
Timothy DeSchwartz going to pick up his 2nd win of the season. And as well, going to be hoisting the championship trophy as he now begins to burn it down here in front of these Knoxville fans. Let's take a look at the finishing results from this one and credit the rest of the top 5. Grant Wesley, I know he wanted to win this race, but you talked about it back during the heat, and I think we saw the same situation here in the main event as well. He wanted to race these guys hard, but he wanted to race them clean, knowing that there was a championship battle going on. He's going to settle for 3rd place. Could have very easily taken the both of them out in his attempt to get his 6th win of the season. Brian Ordo started on point. We saw him pick up a heat win back in the first heat, kind of faded back outside of the top 5, but was able to fight back up for 4th. And Michael Massey, who was the first driver we saw get in trouble in this main event, he's going to salvage a top 5 to end out the year.
Yeah, it really was a lot of survival for some of these drivers. We saw a lot of the front runners get collected late from that lap 30 caution, and from there on, you knew that with how much they were getting into that outside wall, someone or many drivers were not going to survive very much longer.
10 drivers made it to the finish. Here you see the 4 drivers that did not. Jason Ferguson, Adam Huggins, Stephen Barra, and Christopher Carmen going to finish 11th through 14th in the finale here in the RTG Dirt Street Stocks. Let's go down and get some interviews with our top 3 finishers. Let's kick things off with last week's winner, but tonight's 3rd place finisher, Grant Wesley. Hey Grant, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Oh my God, I'm wore out. What's up, guys?
I'll bet you're worn out. I mean, my goodness. Before we ended up having that second caution, you guys ran 30 laps in close proximity amongst the top 7. Somehow, you guys kept it clean with slide jobs and door banging. And then as soon as that caution was over, you guys went right back to it. Obviously, you said you're exhausted here, but how difficult is it to mentally keep yourself fundamentally sound in that kind of a battle that's going on, not only here for the race win, but knowing you're surrounded by championship competitors as well?
Oh man, tonight was 100% white knuckle on the edge. Right there in turn one. As the night progresses, the line moves up closer and closer to that fence. And tonight, it was just past halfway is when we started getting up close to that fence, and there was a big hole in turn one that was uncharacteristic of. I mean, usually it's not that big of a hole, but I know that me, Ryan, and Martin, I seen all three of us bouncing through it and rear end coming off the ground. And when you're right up next to that wall, it's just everything you can do to keep it out of it. And that was a fast way around. And then you put on top of that, you got Steve and Tim. Those guys, they had a 2-point split going into the heats. And I believe after the heat races, I think they were tied. So I think it was pretty much whoever won the feature probably won the championship. So I think Tim got that. So good job, Tim. But yeah, man, what a race.
Yeah, Grant, it was a wild one for us up in the booth to even watch. I mean, that was, like you said, white knuckle racing. For yourself, I mean, you came in here sounding exhausted. How do you even translate coming from today's race with the street stocks into later tonight with the late models? I mean, it's going to get even wilder with the more faster and more aggressive machines.
So with the late models, those cars, you can't really beat and bang them around. These street stocks are kind of like tanks. The late models, you get it up on the fence, you'll bend up that rear spoiler real quick, and this is a high-speed track, and it's going to be important to have all the downforce you can get. So I think you may see a few more cautions with the late models, but the groove's going to move up once again, kind of similar to what it did with the street stocks.
Well, Grant, obviously, congratulations on your third place run here in the street stocks. We look forward to seeing what you do over there in the late models coming up momentarily. We're now turning the microphone over to you for some shout-outs.
Yeah, I guess first and foremost, this is the end of season 4. This is the finale. I just want to thank everybody that's been showing up on a regular basis. We've had good fields and really, really close racing all season. Couldn't ask for a much better group of guys. And I'd like to thank the owners here at RTG, Terry Bauman, Sean Prime, and David Cannon, my fellow admins, Brian Hogue and Brian Ordo, and everybody that helps out behind the scenes there. I'd like to thank you guys, FRN, for doing the broadcast. Excellent, as always. I'd like to thank my friends and family for watching, and my girlfriend and my teammates at XFM.
Well, that's Grant Wesley, third place to finish out the season here for the RTG Dirt Street Stocks. Once again, congratulations. We look forward to seeing what you do in the late models. Best of luck there.
Thanks.
And let's now get second place finisher and the driver that's going to end up second place in the standings as well, and that is Steve Robbins. Hey, Steve, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
I'm here.
Man, I mean, you put on a heck of a show here tonight. You ended up bringing home the checkered flag in your heat, subsequently started up inside of the top 3, and it was just a dogfight between yourself and the 49 all race long. Came down to that late race caution, that 4-lap shootout. What little bit more do you think you needed to keep that 49 at bay?
I don't know. I know the bottom started coming in. He was running there. I moved down the line. I don't know. It just wasn't enough. I thought I had the fast line out, and it just didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, Steve, I mean, it was a wild night for us to be watching up here up in the booth, but from your perspective, and what was going on through your mind once you saw that late caution?
Well, I thought, here we go. I'm going to drop back. I'm usually not very good at restarts. I usually lose a couple spots, and I just hit it right. And I was hoping I could keep Tim behind me, get around the other 2 cars. And I did, but just not quick enough, and Tim snuck up on me.
Well, Steve, obviously, as we said, a tremendous run for you here this evening. You kept that machine up in the top 5 all night long, up there on that final restart with a chance of winning this thing. Certainly nothing to hang your head about here tonight and for this season overall. The statistics coming to this race, really, really good for that 073 team. We're going to let you do some shout outs here now.
I want to thank Rolling Thunder Gaming. This is a great league to race, and I want to thank all the guys that put it on. Thank you guys for broadcasting. I think that helps us out quite a bit. And all the guys that I race with. I mean, they're a tremendous group of guys. I couldn't ask for a better, cleaner race by Tim and Grant and Brian and all the guys that were out front most of the night. Ryan, great racing. Thank you guys.
Well, that is Steve Robbins. He finishes second place here in the street stocks. So congratulations on a great run here, and good luck in the late models coming up here. You've got a win just a couple of weeks ago in the late models, so be cool to see if you get a second one here this season.
That would be great. I haven't been in the winner's circle quite a bit this season compared to last season, so one more win for the season would be excellent. Thanks.
Absolutely. Let's now go down to victory lane, where race win and championship win is going to go to the 49 of Tim DeSchwart. Hey, Tim, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, man, I mean, we were working the calculators up here the entirety of this thing. After the heat race, your 2-point advantage coming into the night had been evaporated to then being 2 points behind Steve Robin. And then the two of you are racing side by side in close proximity for pretty much the entirety of this 50-lap feature. And it came down between the two of you off of turn 4 for not only the win, but for the championship. Describe the emotions that were going through your head on that final restart, knowing that the two of you were pretty much going to settle this thing out.
Yeah, pretty much the whole race, it seemed like we were racing right around each other. But that last restart, it was single file, so I was going to go to the bottom and win it or lose it. I just had to shove it down there and hope it stuck enough that I could get around everybody and send it home.
Yeah, I mean, Sim, we saw throughout the night you were moving up through the field, and then you dropped back, and then you were moving back up through the field. What was going through your mind when you were dropping back, recognizing, hey, I got to move up at some point?
Yeah, early on there, I had like at least 2 positions on Steve, so I felt pretty good at that point. But he got around me. It seems like I traded every spot in the top 5 throughout that race, and then got lucky enough at the end to be on the top.
You know, Tim, coming into tonight's race, definitely you were in a dogfight for this championship. We're switching gears now over to the late models that are going to be taking to their feature here at Knoxville. You come into that one with a 21-point advantage over Grant Wesley. So obviously a big miracle would have to happen for you to lose that championship. So how cool is it going into that race now knowing that you are going to be a champion sweeping the 2 dirt series here in RTG?
It's really a pretty good feeling. I'm just going to try to take it easy in the late model race and not mess up too bad and just give him a chance. But it's going to be hard to beat this race. This street stock race was probably the best one I've ever been in this league. It was the top 7 probably were stuck together like glue, it seemed like, and it was really awesome race. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Feels pretty good.
Well, it was certainly a blast for us to watch. Congratulations, Tim, on not only picking up your second win of the season, but also locking up the RTG Dirt Street Stock Championship. And again, we look forward to seeing what you do in the late model race. We're going to turn the microphone over to you now for some thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Yeah, I want to thank RTG for broadcasting or sponsoring the broadcast tonight and for putting on a great league. Grant Wesley, Terry Bowman, Brian Ordo, Brian Hogue, my teammates. The top 3 podium tonight doesn't seem like it is enough. I would have to say the top 7 tonight had some really awesome, good, clean racing. So thank everybody for a good season.
Well, that is Tim DeSchwart. We can now call him the Season 4 RTG Dirt Street Stock Series champion. Once again, congratulations, Tim, and best of luck to you in that late model race coming up.
I appreciate it, guys. We'll see you there.
We are going to take the opportunity here to swap over to that late model series session. So, Sam, closing remarks here for the street stocks before we get ready for the next 50-lap feature.
Yeah, that was a wild race for sure. I know the drivers are trying to catch their breath. I'm pretty sure we're still trying to catch our breath. That was a fun race here to win. What a great way to end the season off with having your two drivers that are punting for the championship be 1 and 2, and winner takes all really here tonight. And a great run for Timothy DeSchwartz. Steve Robbins, he really showed that he had a chance. It just ran out of time.
Definitely did. Well, folks, obviously, as we stated, 21 points separate Grant Wesley from Tim DeSchwartz heading into this late model race. So more than likely the championship will not be on the line, but if the street stock's the right thing to go by, we're in for a very exciting 50-lap feature. That'll be coming up here momentarily. We're going to step aside for a quick intermission, shift gears over to that late model event, and don't be going anywhere because that's going to be coming up in just a few moments. And welcome back, everybody, here to Knoxville Speedway as we get ready for race number 16, the season finale for the RTG Late Model Series. Getting ready for our first heat race here, where we can already crown him the champion. Tim DeSchwart will be lining up on the pole alongside of Jim Black, Patrick Spangler, Michael Massey in row 2, Grant Wesley, who won the last late model race last week at Charlotte Dirt, and Martin Karch will complete the rest of this one. And so, Sam, as we said when we finished up the Street Stocks race, the championship's really not on the line, but there's still a trophy on the line for the race winner to close out the season.
Yeah, I mean, the Street Stock showed us, hey, there was some fabulous racing to be seen here at Knoxville. We're excited to see what these pro late models are going to be doing for us, and excited to see how they're going to be doing overall. I mean, we've already know that Tim DeSchwart won the championship, like you said, but we've got some new drivers here that haven't raced in the Street Stocks earlier today. We'll see what Spangler has for us.
Yeah, Patrick Spangler, I believe he is making, I want to say it's his 9th start of the season. Patrick Spengler is also looking for his 4th top 5. So in the 8 limited starts he's made, he's been really good. 3 top 5s and 6 top 10s. Of course, still looking for his first trip to victory lane as well, as we take the green flag for our first 8-lap heat.
And it's going to be Tim DeSchwartz trying to pull away as he can right now on the inside. And he's got himself Michael Massey on the outside, but drifting up. And you got to be careful. These late models are much bigger than what the street stocks are. And they get a lot more sideways. So that back end is stick out way more in that front nose, kind of like a ramp. You got to be careful. You might spin someone around.
Much bigger, much faster, and as we documented, much more delicate. We've talked with Grant Wesley post-race of the street stocks, and he says as the track begins to wear and drivers migrate more and more up to that top side, you're going to have to preserve that rear spoiler. Otherwise, you're going to have your hands full.
And something we're going to be seeing a lot more different from the street stocks compared to the late models is the fact that the drivers that are going down low, they can't get as low as they were before with the street stocks because of that little rim edge that they have on the inside. That front nose just will dig right into that, and you can be finding yourself spinning around in a lot of front end damage.
Tim DeSchwartz has checked out on this 4-way battle for the 2nd position. Right now, Massey has it. Martin Karch wants it. Grant Wesley and Patrick Spengler right there as well, as we're halfway through this heat. And Martin Karch, he had a great run going on in the street stocks, was running up for the race lead with Ryan Stillwell at the time. The two of them got together. Martin Karch eventually faded out of the picture for the win, and so obviously looking for some redemption here in the late models.
Yeah, and we're starting to see drivers, I mean, like we saw at the street stocks, right? The drivers that are doing well in the early part of the race, they might not be there. They might fade back. Once you start seeing the track getting more worn down and drivers starting to search for different areas and where speed is. So expecting to see Grant Wesley as well as Karch up there up front by the end of this race. But Timothy DeSchwartz, he's doing a fabulous job. 2 laps to go in this heat.
Yeah, Timothy DeSchwartz, if he wins this heat, I mean, it was already near impossible for Grant Wesley to take the championship away from DeSchwartz. I think the only possible way that DeSchwartz could have lost the championship is if he got no bonus points here in the heat and he ended up finishing dead last in the main event with Grant Wesley winning the main event. With DeSchwartz winning this heat, if he does bring it around here for these final couple of corners here on the final lap, that's 5 more bonus points that he's going to get. That basically ices the championship right there.
Yeah, if you're looking at what the points are looking like and the mountain points you could be gaining.
Oh boy, Tim DeSchwartz cut up on that curbing you were talking about, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what's going to get dangerous is, oh no, there they go, Karch around. And same spot we saw him wreck during the heat for the street stocks. He wrecks that again, but this time with a lot more help.
Not sure if he was going to finish 2nd, 3rd, or 4th because he, Massey, and Wesley all were racing 3 wide coming off that corner, but it will officially be 5th for Martin Karch. As DeSchwartz going to win the heat. Massey crosses the line in 2nd, Grant Wesley in 3rd.
Yeah, and back to the point that I was about to talk about, it looked like Timothy DeSchwartz actually had to not even show up to this race if Grant Wesley wanted a chance to win the championship. So Timothy DeSchwartz going to have our poll for the featured event here tonight, as now we're going to be going into our final heat of the evening here with heat number 2.
And with DeSchwartz now completely clinching that championship, he is going to be a champion in both series. He already got the Street Stocks championships moments ago, and now he's got the late model championship locked up. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that last season, the same thing was done. Martin Karch ended up winning both of those championships. So interesting that we end up having a driver sweep the championships in both series in back-to-back years.
And we're now going to be seeing Brian Ordo, who won the heat race back with the street stock, see if he can capitalize and win another heat here this evening. Or, I mean, we could also be seeing someone else come in and taking that away. Ryan Stillwell, that 9 machine's been quick in the street stocks. We'll see if he can carry that speed here into the late models.
Well, he's been good in the late models. There's no doubt about that. A 4-time winner coming into tonight's event, but his last win was all the way back on November 20th at the 12th race of the season of Lima Land. So he's been out of victory lane for the past 3 weeks. Would love to be able to end out the season with his 5th trip to victory lane. Another former winner that's in this group is Steve Robbins. We talked with him, the runner-up finisher from the street stocks 2 weeks ago. He picked up his first win of the season at Linear Dirt.
Drivers again set as the pace truck lights are up. We're going this time by for these drivers. 5 drivers trying to figure out who's going to be starting in 2nd place, and the rest of the field will be scattered after that. But You know, with seeing how the street stocks went, this track is going to evolve so much. We saw that it seemed like the outer brim of the cushion that drivers searched for at the end of the featured race, it looked like it disappeared and was no longer there for drivers. We'll see if the reaction of figuring out where the speed is for the featured race is going to be seen. But first, we got to get past this final heat.
This heat could also spell out a good battle inside the top 5 in the point standings, because in this heat we've got drivers Ryan Stillwell, Steve Robbins, and Brian Hogue, 3rd through 5th in points, separated by 8 points between those three. So this could be potentially a battle for 3rd in the final finishing results of the standings.
It's going to be Brian Hogue getting a massive start for himself. Stillwell going to be in 2nd place, trying to carry that momentum for the 9 machine. As all the way to the back, it looks like Terry Baumann going to be out of shape and losing a lot of ground. It's a 4-horse race for the win.
So now with Terry Baumann currently in that 5th position, the best battle is going to be for 2nd. Ryan Stillwell has it. Ordo tries to get to left rear quarter panel, couldn't do it. That brings Steve Robin to his back door. All this going on, maybe half a car length behind Brian Hogue. Now Stillwell clears for 2nd. He sets his sights on the race leader.
Yeah, right now it's going to be Stillwell just trying to work his way through 1 and 2, trying to figure out if he should be running a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower, searching for that speed, and that's the advantage of the car that's running behind the leader. You have the chance to surge. You know whatever the leader is running is quick, but it's finding where that extra speed is.
And it's going to be interesting to see the driver mentality in this one as well, because as we mentioned back in the street stocks, it was a measly 2 points between then championship battlers Timothy DeSchwart and Steve Robin. Now coming into this race, especially with the fact, as we've said, DeSchwart winning his heat, the championship's decided. So these guys can go all out in trying to see who's going to get that final late model series checkered flag of the season.
Yeah, that little hesitation that we received from Grant Wesley before with the street stocks for a lot of these drivers has now disappeared. It's all about the win tonight. And I'm excited to see who's going to be able to throw it down, who's going to have the best slide job of the night. We saw the street stocks. They were duking it back and forth. We're expecting to see something pretty similar with these faster and much more muscly cars that, honestly, they got to be careful of that outside wall. I think that's going to be the most dangerous spot for most of these drivers is once we get later into the featured race, that outside wall is going to be looking more and more dangerous.
Well, we talk about that consistency wins you championships. If not championships, at least gets you up there at the top of the standings. Brian Hogue fits that bill. He's got the lowest number of top 10 or top 5s in the top 5 in the point standings, 4 coming into this race, but he has 14 finishes inside of the top 10. That's the most of anybody inside of the top 5 in the points.
Yeah, it just means that he might not have the fastest car, but he at least has a machine that will last to the end. And that's what you need sometimes, being 5th in points at the moment, trying to find himself even higher than that in the points. And with this win, that's 5 bonus points that's going to be going to this 14.
Absolutely. So going to make that battle for 3rd in the standings even closer as off turn 4. Hogue will win the 2nd heat. Ryan Stillwell will cross in 2nd. And Steve Robbins will bring it home in the 3rd position. So 5 bonus points for the 14, 3 for the 9, and 1 for the 073. And our field is now put together of the drivers that are going to partake in this event. They're now going to head on out there for a little bit of warm-up, get used to the track yet again. So Sam, you know, we already touched on it already a little bit, just the fact that the mentality of the drivers is going to be different in how they approach this race in terms of aggressiveness and trying to get that checkered flag. However, you also touched on the fact there's a lot of things the street stocks were able to do that the late models are not going to be able to do. So do we see the slide jobs and the side-by-side racing we saw in the earlier event?
I think the slide jobs, 100%. We're going to be seeing that move made a lot for passes here, probably in the middle part of this race and at the end. Side-by-side racing, that's going to be tough to see. I think a lot of these drivers are going to be having a tall order to even try to even think about side-by-side racing for a long stint of time, just because of how much this track is going to feel more and more narrower and not a lot of space to work with. I think for the first 5 to 10 laps, maybe some side-by-side racing, but after that, it's going to be a lot of drivers staying in line and slide jobs trying to get in front of the driver in front of them.
Yeah, we heard Grant Wesley say he's expecting to see a little bit more showing of the yellow flag in this race. Another thing I'm wondering too, you know, you talked about the fact that the late models are a lot faster in how you enter into the corner. With that being said, do these drivers go into search mode maybe a little bit quicker here in this race than they did with the street stocks?
No, I'm expecting it to be pretty similar. Around lap 15 to 20, I think maybe 5 laps sooner could be the factor for these drivers becoming in and searching for the grip or the moisture. But I mean, even lap 25, we might be seeing drivers searching there. And then after that point, it's going to be just searching all the time, trying to figure out, because it's going to change lap per lap of where the moisture is and where the speed really is going to be for these drivers. You might be feeling like the outside groove is the fastest for about 2 to 3 laps, and then it's all the way at the bottom where the fastest cars are going to be at.
Well, Timothy DeSchwartz going to be the one that's going to lead them to the green. He's already won a race here tonight and clinched a championship in the street stocks. He's got the championship locked up here for the late models, but can he complete the win and championship sweep here tonight at the Knoxville Speedway? We're going to find that out momentarily. We're going to step aside for a quick race break. You won't miss a thing. We'll be back with the green flag for the finale for the RTG Dirt late models in just a moment. All right, the pace car is leading the field off of pit road. We're getting ready to go green. Slightly smaller field than what we had for the street stocks, but still 11 drivers will get ready to take the green flag for 50 laps of racing. Tim DeSchwark going to line up on the point alongside Brian Hogue. They were your two respective winners from the heat races. Michael Massey alongside of Ryan Stillwell. Grant Wesley and Steve Robin in row 3, Patrick Spangler and Brian Ordo in row 4, Jim Black and Terry Baum complete the top 10 with Martin Karch back there in 11th. The two drivers that have won the most races so far this season, Sam. 5 wins for Grant Wesley, 4 wins for Ryan Stillwell. Do we see those two duking it out, do you think, here, to see who's going to be able to pick up their 4th or make that their 5th or 6th win, respectively? Or do you have somebody picked out here to maybe be able to steal that win away from them?
I think Timothy DeShort, he got the pole. He's got already the momentum from earlier in the street stocks. It's obviously going to be helping him, and also seeing how the track was going to evolve. It's going to evolve very similarly like it did for the street stocks here for the late models. It's going to be exciting to see 50 laps once again, and the faster and heavier cars, we'll see how they can get around this track.
I'm going to have some fun watching Martin Karch work his way to the back, from the back to the front, not once but twice, as we saw him do it in the street stocks, as well as DeSchwark clears for the top position off of turn number 2. Side-by-side battle is going to be for the 3rd spot.
Yeah, it's going to be Stillwell on the outside. We got Brian Hogue on the inside. Hogue's going to be trying to carry momentum and try not to just become a dead stop in the middle of the corner, able to hold on. Right now, Brian Hogue doing a great job. He looked like through the center of 3 and 4, and then he wasn't going to get that momentum out of the corner, but he's getting a great launch so far. Stillwell, a better 1 and 2, but into the wall to that 9 machine.
Now, you talked about the durability of the street stocks, getting up there into the wall, especially with the right front. How badly does that affect the late models?
It's going to be hurting them just a little bit, but it's more of if you continue to hit it over and over again. Of course, flipping to the back, though. That's going to be Jim Black and others collected in this thing.
Patrick Spangler in the 10 spun around there. Also the 45 of Michael Massey, and as you mentioned, the 86 of Jim Black. At least a 3-car incident there in turn 2.
It looked like Massey had nowhere to go, and he might have gotten into Spangler, and he did. Kind of used the Spangler's nose as a ramp to put himself into the outside wall. And first caution early in this race.
Definitely is. Of course, drivers that sustain a lot of damage here do have the opportunity of that one faster pair, but not necessarily certain you want to have to have used it as soon as lap 3, especially with the fact that, as in the street stocks race, the caution laps do not count.
Yeah, and, you know, due to the fact that we're going to be seeing cars pulling it into the pits, I believe that's going to be Michael Massey, and it is. Massey, who was the driver that flipped over, most likely going to be using this faster pair, getting back out there as soon as possible, and trying to avoid as much carnage as possible, as Michael Massey is going to get in, get the faster pair done, get a 45 machine back out there, going to be starting back in 11th place. But these noses, you talked about, they're the damage on the noses is going to hurt them, as Michael Massey loops it around after getting out of pit road.
Doesn't look like he hit anything. I think he did stay on the lead lap as well, so no harm, no foul, I guess. Just gives us something else to talk about here under these pace laps, as DeSchwark going to be leading us back to green there with the 9 of Ryan Stillwell and the 073 of Steve Robinson. You know, one thing that we have to talk about as well that I was noticing with these drivers were they seemed like a little bit more of a situation where I think it was Stillwell and Ordo, when they were side by side, when Ordo pushed up the track, these cars, you said they're heavier, but it looks like they're a little bit more movable in terms of contact, because it almost looked like Ordo was able to push Stillwell up into that 3rd groove already, where I don't think these drivers are willing to go yet.
Yeah, and it's just because of the way that the cars are made, right? They're so different compared to what the street stocks, like we heard Grant, they're kind of, the street stocks built like tanks. These are a lot more they're a lot more delicate, and a little bit more contact can shove you out of position and really can get you loose. As we're green once again, you don't really want to hurt the noses. It's more in the backs wing that you don't want to mess with. The back spoiler is where you really want to be careful that you don't get any contact with that. And the outside wall is where you possibly are going to get the most contact and the damage from there.
Stillwell clears to 2nd, Robin clears to 3rd. Here comes that 33 of Martin Karch, 3 wide with Grant Wesley and Brian Hogue.
Yeah, now it's the time to go 3 wide. You've got the most grip to even try these moves. It's when we're about 15 to 20 laps that you're not going to be seeing a lot of these aggressive moves, as Karch going to be sliding in front of Wesley, side by side, back for that 5th place position up front. Those top 4, they stay in line.
Martin Karch is going out as the former Late Model Series champion, going to be handing that title now over to Tim DeSchwark. who up to this point has led every lap so far. Battle starting to brew for that second spot. Steve Robin took a peek there on Ryan Stillwell.
Yeah, and I think Robin is just trying to figure out, okay, do I want to stay in this middle groove and try to get the right arcing through the corner, or do I want to be aggressive and try to diamond the corner where you just hit a point and then come shooting back down? We're seeing a lot more of a gentler curve around and bend through these corners compared to what we were seeing with the street stocks, where it was a lot more of find your apex early and get off the corner as fast as possible.
You know, obviously here tonight, we've been looking through a lot of statistics, and not only the street stocks, but the late models. Here's another stat for you, Sam. These guys were here at Knoxville earlier on in the season. Guess who won that race?
I would probably say Martin Karch.
No, it was actually our race leader, Tim DeSchwart. Now, he's led the first 9 laps. Back in that first Knoxville race, he only led one, the all-important final lap.
You know, sometimes the way you want to get it done is cars are going to be slow. I believe that's going to be Jim Black on the high side, and the late lap cars are going to have to figure out how to get around Les Lap Machine, and will do cleanly for now. But looks like Jim Black not having the day that he's been wanting to have. Had a rough time in those street stocks and even here in the late models.
Yeah, went sliding into Michael Massey, and I don't think he came down pit road to repair that damage. That's obviously really stifled his speed here in the early going, now falling a lap down to the race leaders. The battle for third place continues hot and heavy. Martin Karch and Steve Robin is taking place about 2 car lengths behind Ryan Stillwell, and then nearly a full straightaway back to a 3-way battle for 5th.
Yeah, that's where we're going to be seeing Patrick Spangler leading that charge. We got Grant Wesley and Brian Hoke. They're in line, and it's looking like Spangler's trying to do his best to hold off Grant Wesley, and Wesley is just waiting for the track to finally evolve to where the high line is the most preferred lane and gets the run up. Now going to be trying to make a pass here on the 10 machine. Well, it looks like Spangler might have gotten up into the wall.
Oh, goodness, we got some contact for third place. Martin Karch tried to slide job Steve Robbins. The contact was made, sent the 073 up into the outside wall.
Yeah, and he got that rear spoiler a little bit dented in for that 073 of Robbins, and Robbins is going to have to deal with that for the rest of the race. Might hope for a caution, come in, get that repaired, and might have to make a move as Grant Wesley really digging it deep, trying to get by there Spangler, and still is struggling to make that 5th place position move as Robbins is dropping back, almost contact.
Wow.
I don't know how those drivers did not make contact and make even more carnage.
Yeah, Spangler nearly took out the 073 of Robbins. Then when he got on the brakes, he nearly got run behind by Grant Wesley. To your point, amazing that everybody was able to keep that still going, and nobody got really any extensive damage out of that.
Yeah, you're already seeing the damage that Stephen Robin has. That is just hurting the 073. He is just losing time, and he's just not able to get the rear end around the way that he wants. And when he does, there's not enough grip to really help, like down force, to help him stay on the ground and keep on drifting without losing speed.
Yeah, and that's a great thing because a lot of people, Stillwell got the wall there off of turn 4. But yeah, a lot of people are probably wondering, why are we stressing so much about that spoiler? And you just hit it, that downforce that allows these drivers to have when they go into the corner, because if they don't have that downforce, the back end of the car is going to want to loop around on them even more.
Yeah, it's going to want to make you do donuts when you enter these corners instead of trying to slide your way through, as it looks like Spangler might have gotten into more issues as that 10 machine all the way on the apron coming out of 2.
No caution, however, as he was able to keep it down the inside. Now returns back up onto the racing surface. Though we remain green up to this point. That slow car of Jim Black about to be put another lap down as there's a battle starting to brew for the race lead. Ryan Stillwell and Martin Karch, they've closed to the back of the 49.
Yeah, Karch is looking like he's willing to do anything to start moving his way forward. He's looking aggressive, and he's going to now duck into the inside. Slide job move here on Stillwell. Here goes Karch to the outside, expecting a crossover move here by the 9, right into the back bumper, actually.
Now, I'm not exactly certain. I wasn't able to get a great camera angle of it, but I think the 33 may have actually jumped the curbing going into turn 1 when he made that slide job move on Ryan Stillwell.
They certainly got it close to the brim on the inside. I don't know if he exactly hit it, but he certainly
got a
sent
spinner.
it.
Jim Black is around in front of the leaders. He's on the inside of the back straightaway, but he's clear.
Yeah, luckily he was on the inside. Jim Black just struggling today. He's going to hope to put that car into the pit road and maybe get some damage done as Tim DeSchwart, he's now pulling away, but there's another lap car that's going to be in front of him. That's going to be Terry Blauman that he's trying to get by.
Yeah, Bauman's going to go down to the inside line, allow them to go around the outside on the back straightaway, and I'm almost starting to wonder. We saw how the 073 of Robbins was dropping back with the damage. Seen Ryan Stillwell up in the wall a couple of times. I'm almost wondering if maybe he's gotten some damage that's affected him because he was slow. That allowed Martin Karch to make the move for second, and Stillwell continuing to lose ground, starting to fall back into the clutches of fourth place Grant Wesley.
Yeah, Grant Wesley, one of the fastest cars on track at the moment. It seems like it's either Grant Wesley or one of our top three. They just keep on pushing it back and forth on who's the fastest, as now we're starting to see all these drivers very split up. Grant Wesley, he's trying to send it to try to get close to Stillwell, just not close enough. He's trying to find different areas to find speed, and the 88 machine's just not finding it at the moment.
Looking back to the battle for sixth, that's where we find Steve Robbins trying to hold off the 45 of Michael Massey. Massey had a top 5 run in the Street Stocks race, finished 5th. Robbins had a top 5, finished in 2nd. Right now, both of them just on the outside of the top 5 looking in.
Yeah, Steve Robbins got to be so frustrated with the damage that he's gotten on that machine, because you're just seeing how much it's hurting him and the way that he's not able to carry the speed like he used to through these corners, and now it continues to drop back. Also, you got to think these drivers are now searching for grip, and that's what we're seeing up front as Karch trying to use the inside line, as all the drivers have been using the outside little brim and curbing to try to get their way around the corner. Karch, he's now moved it to the inside, trying to stay on that inner rim and try to make that inside line work.
Yeah, when we saw the Street Stock race earlier on, these drivers were driving it so deep into the corner on that top side that when the grip started going away, they were literally just riding the outside wall. Based off of what we've been told with that rear spoiler, are they too scared to go up there and try that now as that outer groove's getting rubbered in, which is why we're seeing Karch try desperately to use the inside line.
The later the run gets on, the more you have to be drastic. You have to really pick, do I want to run close to the wall or close to that inside rim, where I could be finding myself either spinning out or losing my back bumper lose my back wing, where I won't have a spoiler to try to drift around these corners. It's kind of the pick and choose on how you want to get around this course, because the longer the run goes on, the more that middle lane is not going to be useful.
Well, this is the point of the race. If we're using the Street Stock event as a template, where that middle groove started to get so rubbered in that everybody had to start finding different lanes. We're starting to see there Martin Karch right down there on the curbing. Ryan Stillwell and Tim DeSchwartz, they've gone up about another groove higher than where they were about 10 laps ago.
Yeah, and really our leaders are the ones that are finding the speed, because they're running about 3 to sometimes 5 tenths faster than third and fourth place, and they're almost side by side coming up to lap traffic in front of them. That's going to be, I believe, Jim Black once again in front of our leaders. It might be a factor for our front two. That's Karch using the lap car as a pick, going for the lead.
He is going to use it as a pick. He will take the spot. DeSchwartz, I think, had to bail out of the throttle just a little as the 86
Caution.
was in the wall. Oh, that's Terry Ballman. He might have clipped the 33 of Martin Karch. I'm not sure.
Looking at this, Karch must be very frustrated with that. Both of our front two dealing with front damage, and yes, Karch was got in contact with the front end. I don't know if that's enough to really hurt the 33 on the long run, but that is frustrating to see get damage there.
Oh, that was right off of turn 2 and onto the back straightaway, and the back end of Terry Ballman's machine was sticking out just in the lower groove area. And we're going to see here with this replay that there was indeed contact between himself and then race leader Martin Karch. And you be the judge on just how heavy the impact was here as Terry tries to counter steer it, couldn't do it, and oh, there's the contact. Left front is where the contact was made on that 33 machine. So with 20 laps to go, that's going to be a huge question mark right now.
Well, re-looking at it, I don't even think they actually hit. I think Karch might have thrown that car sideways, trying to evade the 69 the best that he could. Was able to evade and able to hold on to it. I think Karch didn't take any damage from that contact.
Well, we're going to get a pretty good view here with the helicopter cam, the aerial view, to see if indeed there was any or no contact. Oh, you know, I think you're right. Holy cow.
But Karch feeling like, hey, there's a possibility that it might have gotten contact. He's going to pull that 33 into the pits, use the fast spare now.
Well, yeah, he's got a strong enough car, we know, to work his way to the front, because he started this this main event, from dead last, was able to work his way up to the front. But the thing is, He did that, yes, with the aid of one caution, but in 30 laps time, we're going back green with 20 laps to go. So he's going to have to make those passes a little bit more frequently than he did in the first 30 laps.
Well, I'm a major fan of Karch coming in, even though he didn't make any contact. He did have wing damage, and that's, I mean, spoiler damage and also rear end damage from earlier contact, as well as Timothy DeShort and Grant Wesley. They've got damage themselves. And you also got to be wondering, as Brian Hogue, as well as Spangler, all the other drivers have come in, used their fast repairs.
Tim DeShort going to take the outside line here for this restart. He'll lead them back to the start-finish line. Wesley slots to second. Battle's going to be for third. That's Brian Hogue to the inside of Michael Massey. We'll see which lane's going to get the advantage off of 2.
Remember, Michael Massey had to use a fast repair, so he's got to be wondering and worrying that if he gets any contact, that's something he's going to have to deal with all race long. And now we're starting to see our front 2 trying to pull away. The next car that took a fast repair is going to be Steve Robin. We'll see on the 073 with a fresh car, how well can he move his way through the pack?
Yeah, Robin, Stillwell, Martin Karch, these are drivers that we saw up inside of the top 5 in the early stages. Stillwell and Robin dropped outside the top 5 after both sustaining some damage. And Martin Karch, of course, as we just saw, had that near escape of hitting Terry Bauman off of turn 2. Right now, those 3 running back in 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Grant Wesley also right on the rear bumper. Sled job for the lead for the 88. Into the wall, possibly he does graze it. That's going to be damage he's got to deal with until possibly a caution comes out. But now it's going to be DeShort back to the front.
Boy, you saw there that DeShort, when he went to do the crossover, he turned that car so far to the left, it nearly moved around on him on that inside line.
Yeah, you got to make sure that you're able to get through these corners, but if you use too much wheel, you could be costing yourself time and honestly just turning your car into a block for everyone else to try to get around. As another slide job move by the 88, this time not as aggressive, and I think this might be helping him to stay at least close enough to try to make another chance at this pass.
DeShort going to cross him back over, though, takes the top position again. Now slides up there right to the guardrail. He gets into the guardrail a good bit.
He got into it again with the front end and the rear end, and that's going to be detrimental for this 49 machine. He's going to now have to deal with that, and I think that's just as much damage as we saw in Steve Robbins' half earlier, where he just continued to drop back like a rock. I don't think Timothy DeShort can deal with this damage. It's going to be hurting him for a long time.
It's the first time that Timothy DeShort has lost the race lead here today in the late model event. Grant Wesley takes the top spot with 15 laps to go. Battle right now is a 3-way battle for second place. DeShort, Massey, and Brian Hogue.
And also can throw in Karch as he's willing to throw his machine all the way to the inside, trying to make a slide job move on Hogue. Not able to do it just yet. That 33, kind of feeling the pressure of the fact that we are running low on laps. We're coming closer and closer to 10 laps to go, and you have to be within a half a second if you want a chance to even go after Grant Wesley at the moment.
Well, Wesley came into this race second in the points, but he was just too far back to have anything to say about winning this championship. However, 5 wins this season. At one point, he had a streak of 3 wins in a row, and he comes into tonight the defending winner from last week's race at Charlotte Dirt, looking for win number 6 on the year, and he's got 12 more circuits to do it, but we saw DeShort make that little mistake after dominating this race, so this thing isn't over yet.
If anyone's going to run down this 88 machine, it's going to be the 33 of Martin Karch. He's got the speed to try to run down the 88, running about a 10 to 2/10 faster than the 88 machine. The struggle is he's still stuck side by side and still behind the 49 machine of Timothy DeShort that continuously is losing time on our leader.
And right now, looking at the rear spoiler on that 33, looks like it's relatively clean. He's been able to methodically work his way back up through the field, now into the second spot as he might have the 49 cleared off of turn 4. Not quite. He might be able to quick pass here as he comes through these final couple of corners here, but yeah, looking at that 88 Grant Wesley, I'm pretty sure he got up into the wall a couple of times trying to pull those slide jobs of the 49 DeShort. So now the question is, who's got the better handling race car?
Yeah, right now, looking at the time, we're going to see on this next lap, see how much time can Karch try to run down per lap. He is about 1.2 seconds back from our leader as we are less than 10 laps to go, about to be 8 laps to go. Now as Grant Wesley crosses the line, that time around, Karch was just a little bit faster, only a couple of hundredths faster when he needs to be about a 10th faster.
Riding on board here with Martin Karch. There you see Grant Wesley up ahead. Now Martin was running the inside line most of those couple of laps. He tried the top side and you see there was no grip for the 33.
Yeah, now he's going to be blinking for a second, so we're going to wait and see if the 33 can get back into the server or not.
Oh boy.
And he will. losing time, and he's going to continue to lose time. And as he is back over a second and a half back from our leader, him getting to the wall, that was not good to see. And now the car's in racing back in fourth place. You got a hornet's nest back there. If we're going to see a caution, it's going to be back here with these 4 drivers.
Yeah, you got a couple of drivers that utilized faster pairs under that last caution, a couple of drivers that stayed out and gained track position. Brian Hogue, Ryan Stillwell, Michael Massey, Steve Robin, all in this group, trying to settle out the final spots of the top 5.
Oh, Stillwell gets spun by Michael Massey. Here comes other drivers collected into this, and no yellow just yet as we stay green.
Let's see if that 45 can get refired of Michael Massey. There's going to be some oncoming traffic, and there is the caution as Massey could not get the car refired with traffic just below him passing by.
The tennis Spangler, also another driver involved, but it just looked like Michael Massey came in with a head of steam. Also, you got to say that Stillwell was still trying to save his machine after contact with Hogue in front of the 45, and away they went.
Well, I think if there was a driver in the field that didn't want to see that caution, it would be the 88, because you mentioned about Martin Karch, how he had a car that could possibly have gotten up there and taken this win away from Wesley. Then he had the connection issues that dropped him back. Well, he's back up there on the bumper of the 88 here on this restart, which will be with 5 to go.
Yeah, but Karch got it into the wall slightly. I think that damage might be hurting this 33 machine. And I'm also going to check and see what other machines still have a cleanish rear bumper. As, yeah, Karch really got into the wall. He's got some major damage on the rear right wing of this driver. The spoiler is going to be something to deal with for most of this race. And we got to say, Grant Wesley, he's gotten into the wall a couple of times, but that rear right damage on the spoiler, not as aggressive as it is for the 33.
We saw the 45 of Massey waiting for drivers to go by because Brian Ordo and Terry Ballman came into the vicinity with his car stopped. That is why the caution came out. It's going to set us up for a shootout here, and we had a shootout already here tonight with the street stocks. It was a 4-lap shootout there. It's a 5-lap shootout here. What are we going to see? Because, again, we said the driver's mentality is going to be entirely different in this race than it was in the street stock race, and we've seen some aggressive racing here in the first 45 laps of this late model event.
The driver with the cleanest spoiler, that's going to be Steve Robbins. We'll see if that 073 wants to really send it. Going to be starting back in 5th place. I mean, if you want a chance to win this race, you got to do something bold, and this 073 has the machine that is at least clean enough if you want to try to get damaged, to try to make some type of bold move. Everyone else in front of them and behind them have some type of spoiler damage that they're going to have to deal with for the rest of this race. Grant Wesley sees the pace truck pull off. Green flag in the air as it's going to be 4 laps to go.
Again, there's nothing to lose and everything to gain for these drivers. The championship's already decided. Martin Karch drives it deep into turn 1, gets alongside off of 2, but Wesley gets the run off the corner.
Just like what we saw with the street stocks, it was the inside line that was going to prevail at the end as Grant Wesley into the wall, going to be scrubbing off time. Here comes Karch on the inside.
Karch going to get alongside as they'll hit the start-finish line. I think it was Karch that barely edged Wesley in a photo finish that time around.
I think we might be seeing a little bit of deja vu where we saw DeShort make the inside work for the street stocks earlier, and now it's going to be Karch on the inside making it work as Wesley once again into the outside wall.
I think Wesley is stuck in a bit of a predicament there. He had to go almost literally to the wall to find grip. Martin Karch still able to find a little bit of grip down there, down near the curbing.
And here comes Timothy DeShort after getting, looks like he did not even get repairs. He's just coming up with this just raw speed. Also Steve Robbins, the driver that I talked about, has the least amount of damage. A little bit of contact by the 88, and they just continue to stay straight. As now it's between the 073 and the 33.
Had another car that nearly spun out. I think that was Brian Hogan, the 14. He actually has now looped it around, but we have taken the white, so we are racing back to the checkered flag. And the driver that came in, the defending champion, but will not be leaving tonight, is still going to get his second win of the season. It's Martin Karch winning at Knoxville.
And then it's going to be Steve Robbins, Grant Wesley, and side by side between Stillwell and DeSchwartz as the rest of the field in carnage after getting the white flag, all wrecking on the entry of 1.
And for Martin Karch, what a 50-lapper, having to work his way from the back to the front, not once, but twice in tonight's event.
Yeah, he also had to do it back in the street stock. So it's been a lot of traffic, driving through traffic here today for that 33 machine, and finally gets a win. And it has to feel so good for Martin Karch after all the hard work that he had to go through to find himself up front.
14 of Brian Hogue was the one that spun out there on the final lap. I think there was contact between himself and Ryan Stillwell for the 5th position. He will finish out tonight's event officially in 10th place, as we'll take a look at the finishing results. And man, Martin Karch, what a victory for him here tonight. Second win of the season. He had won earlier on this year at Eldora, and now he gets his second win here at Knoxville. Robbins in second. Back-to-back second-place finishes here tonight at Knoxville, so a great performance overall this weekend for that 073, and Grant Wesley bringing it home there in the 3rd position. Tim DeSchwart, all he needed was to basically just finish this race, I guess, because he had those 5 bonus points from winning his heat. He locks up the championship here as well in the late model series, finishing 4th.
Yeah, Ryan Stillwell's going to get 5th place. Terry Blauman, I don't know how Terry was able to find himself up in 6th place with that 69 machine. Still had a faster pair, got up there in 6th place. Brian Ordo going to be up in 7th. And then you've got Patrick's Springer, where it's going to be up in that 8th position after all the cars behind him being collected in that accident.
Michael Massey was the last to finish on the lead lap. Ryan Hogue did not make it around to take the checkered flag after his spin out on the final lap. And then finishing out the field, Jim Black, who struggled here tonight, fell a lap down early. DNF finishing 9 laps down in the 11th position, as Martin Karch and the rest of the top 3 finishers there on the front straightaway getting some photographs taken here. Martin Karch eventually will be doing his burnouts and heading to victory lane. Let's go down trackside and get some interviews with some of our top 3 finishers. Let's kick things off with 3rd place finisher Grant Wesley. Hey Grant, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios again. You got us?
Oh yeah, I got you.
Man, I mean, back-to-back 3rd place finishes here tonight at Knoxville, and man, you were in the conversation right there at the end on that late race restart, but it almost kind of looked like you were committed to that top side, but there just wasn't enough grip up there, or at least if it was too high.
Yeah, whenever we were going green, I kind of had a pretty good rhythm going. That top side was getting really thin right in the center of the corner on each end, and you had to hit it just right. I had my marks down, and I was hitting them every lap, and then the caution came out. And I knew that was going to mess my rhythm up, and I knew Martin was behind me. I knew he was coming. He's fast. And, yeah, I just missed my marks. I caught the wall just a little bit. And then that put me behind Martin. And then the next couple of corners, I went to get a run and run it back down the hill on exit. And I guess I had 2 guys under me. And I think I ran down into Tim's door a little bit and got sideways and just lost another spot. So, not exactly what you want, but we'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, on those final couple of laps, you were really fighting just to get that 3rd place position. How was it trying to fight Tim and Ryan there at the end?
Oh man, I didn't realize exactly where they were because I know that they were trying to pass me. I mean, I glanced in the mirror a few times, and you just see the whole field back there. And yeah, like I say, I don't know exactly where they were, but yeah, I was just trying to hang on.
Well, Grant, obviously, though, a great weekend for you here to end out the season. 3rd place in the street stocks, 3rd place in the late models, and, of course, the season you've had overall here in the late models as well. 5 trips to victory lane. You're going to be finishing 2nd in the point standings. Obviously, it would have been cool to see you up there in the conversation for the championship, but still a great season overall. And for one final time, we're going to turn the microphone over to you for some shout-outs.
Yeah, I guess first I'll start off with if anybody's watching this and wants to join us next season, Season 5 starts January 8th. We'll be running the 358 modifieds and the Pro Late Models doubleheaders again. And we hope to have you guys back doing broadcasts possibly. Got to line all that out. But yeah, so I'd like to thank the owners here, Terry Bauman, Sean Prime, and David Cannon, my fellow admins, Brian Hogue and Brian Ordo. Thank you guys for doing the broadcast. My friends and family, my girlfriend, and my teammates at XFM.
Well, that's Grant Wesley, back-to-back 3rd place finishes here tonight at Knoxville and 2nd in the point standings here for the RTG Late Model Series. Congratulations on a great run, Grant.
Thanks, and also thanks to RTG for sponsoring this event.
Let's see if we can now get our 2nd place finisher, Steve Robbins. Hey, Steve, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yep, I'm here again.
All right, man. Back-to-back 2nd place finishes here tonight at Knoxville. We were looking there with that 5 lap to go restart, and Sam said that your car looked like it was the cleanest one out there. We saw you put it down there to the inside line, several slide job moves there in the closing stage. Did you maybe need just a couple more laps to be able to get this victory, or was that all she had?
I think that's all she had. Me and Martin got together earlier in the race, and my car just kind of went away after that. I had to go in and do some repairs on it. I think that's why it was fast, but I'm surprised I finished second. I really am.
Yeah, Steve, when we saw you have to battle your way through traffic, how was it trying to get through traffic? It just seemed like the later the race got on, the more difficult it was to even try to find space to put your car to even try to make a pass.
Well, towards the end, I'm not the greatest at this car yet. As far as racing it compared to the street stock. I knew the guys behind me I thought were going to be faster, so I just told them to go around the top side, and I'm just going to run the bottom. You guys go race, and the bottom actually worked really good, surprisingly.
Well, Steve, great run for you here tonight. Great runs here tonight at Knoxville. Second place with the street stock, second place with the late models. Great way for you to end out the season in both series. For one final time, we're handing the microphone over to you to do some shout-outs.
Same thing as before, RTG for putting on some awesome races, awesome seasons, you guys for broadcasting, and all the guys that I race with. I mean, they're a great group of guys.
Well, that's Steve Robbins, second place here tonight in the late models. I do believe with this finish, very likely could be finishing third overall in the standings as well. So congratulations on that, and congratulations on a great night overall.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks.
And last but not least, down to victory lane we go. Let's talk with the outgoing champion, Martin Karch. Hey, Martin, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yeah.
Well, man, obviously we weren't able to cover the Eldora race where you got your first win of the season, but here tonight, second win on the year to cap off the season here at Knoxville. And we were talking about not only over in the street stocks, but here in the late models as well. You had to work your way from the back to the front, but man, that 33 was flying. Talk about the adventure of cutting your way through traffic from back to front of the field.
We got this car dialed in pretty early tonight, so we just knew it was a matter of time. And, well, we wanted to have a little challenge going to the front.
Yeah, Martin, we saw that the outside line, it was working so well for so long, and then drivers were getting up into the wall. At one point, did you realize, okay, I got to start trying to make the inside work? And at one point, did you realize this inside is actually probably the better lane to be in?
Probably about midway through the race, actually. Normally, I'd run up by the wall, but I seen everybody else was still running up there, so I just had to try something different, and it worked.
Yeah, Sam talked about your ability to be able to run that inside line. One thing we touched on was with the street stocks, you have the suspension a little bit higher off the ground. So if you end up hitting that curbing down the inside line, it doesn't affect you nearly as much as the shovel fronts that these late models have. Was there any point running down there on the inside line that you were thinking, oh boy, I hope this thing doesn't dig into the curbing and flip the car up in the air?
I had a couple close calls, but I don't know how we didn't mess up, but I guess we were just lucky.
Well, it was an awful lot of fun watching you work your way through the field there, Martin. Congratulations on the victory here tonight, second on the season. We're now going to give you the opportunity to do some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, I just want to thank the guys over here at RTG for putting this show on week in, week out. You guys for broadcasting it tonight, and teammates Mike Massey, Brian Hogue, and Tim Desort. If it wasn't for these guys, who knows what we'd be doing.
Well, Martin Karch is going to cap off the season with a trip to victory lane here tonight at the Knoxville Speedway. Once again, congratulations on a great performance there, Martin.
Thank you.
Well, same track, entirely different conditions in terms of time of day, and two entirely different race cars. But Sam, I mean, we were talking during the break, and you said this is why they come to Knoxville for the finale, because we saw two incredible finishes.
Yeah, it's the way the fact that this track evolves so much in just 50 laps. You saw that you could work anywhere for those first about 15 to 20 laps, and then it was about moving up to the high side. Then for the final 10 laps, whoever could get down to the bottom and make it work the soonest was the driver that moved up the quickest. And we saw that with Tim DeSchwartz with the street stocks, and here with Martin Karch here in the late models.
And, we ended up seeing it come down to late race restarts as well. We saw some great long green flag runs in both the street stocks and late models, but it came down really to who had the best short run car at the end of the day.
Yeah, and sometimes you just need a little bit of a luck to squeeze everyone back together and give yourself a shot to possibly pass as many cars as you need. And for Mark Karch, that's what he needed as well for Tim DeSchwartz.
Well, congratulations to Tim DeSchwartz as he completes the sweep for the championships here tonight at Knoxville. He blocks up the Street Stocks Championship by winning the Street Stocks race, and then he finishes 4th place here tonight for the late models to lock up the Late Model Series Championship. Martin Karch, your winner for the late model race to cap off the season. What a great season finale here at Knoxville. Sam, appreciate you joining me tonight for this one.
Yeah, it's always be a pleasure to be up in the booth, Seth. I mean, tonight it was amazing racing to see, and it's always been a pleasure to watch.
Without a doubt, this is what dirt racing is all about, and what great performances we saw here this evening, courtesy of the RTG guys. Hope everybody enjoyed our coverage here tonight. We hope that you enjoy the rest of your Friday evening. For Samuel Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.